I'm Papa G, and this is Doll Magic. This is also the basis of a book I'm working on. So, yeah, I'm pretty quick at that. I don't know, 4 or 5 months. So, what are most people think of doll magic? They think of this. It's all about pain and needles. And if you ever saw them, we used to have damn it dolls that get your anger out. But dolls are a form of sympathetic magic. They were mainly in the beginning used for healing, where you would actually use it as an effigy of a person to represent them, to nurse them, and to heal them. So basically, sympathetic magic is like affects like. What I do to this doll is done to the person. What I put the feelings I put towards this doll, the person of my target will feel it. So I've always admired the craftsmanship of unusual dolls, and it's only in the past couple of years that I've started making them. In the front, you'll see all the spirit dolls that I make in the corner, in the little Papa G corner. I also make the yarn dollies. Um, Here's an example of one of the spirit dolls I make. And then I've just started making these, which actually aren't out there for sale yet, but I'll have them for Pagan Pride. Is the little witches, which remind me of the old kitchen witches. So I've just started making these. I only have a couple made. Um, so there's something very tangible, almost more magical about having a copy of the person you're trying to do something to, or for, um, whether it's for good magic or bad magic. So I'm going to show you some of dolls around the world, old dolls, just sort of to get the feel of how dolls are different than we think of them. They're not all baby dolls or Cupid dolls. This is an Egyptian paddle doll. So it was not necessarily a toy. The hair is actually beads. And it was shaken and used as an instrument, not necessarily for musical purposes, but in ceremonies. So it was still musical, but used in a religious ceremony. So that's the Egyptian paddle doll. This is what is called if I'm pronouncing it right, it could be Shanke or Chanke doll, and it's about from 1000 to 1450 AD. And the Chanke people were on the coast of Peru around between 1000 and 1450 AD. And it's a burial doll. They don't exactly know what the function of this doll was, but it was usually gendered. So they think it was meant to represent the person who it was put in the grave for. This is a Roman ivory doll, mid-2nd century AD. And this is the most you'll find like a Barbie doll. I mean, girls use these as to learn how to, they would dress them. They would make clothes for them. They had jewelry for them. And most Roman girls married 14, 15. And when a girl married, she would offer up her dolls to the gods. So that is why a lot of the times you don't find them in graves. If you find them in graves, you know the girl was not married because she didn't sacrifice her dolls. This is a terracotta Greek doll from about the 5th century. And it's used as a charm to ward off spirits. And it was placed in graves and sanctuaries as an offering to the gods to keep spirits away from people. This one's always interesting. I have two different versions of this picture, so you'll see. This is known as the Louvre doll, 4th century Egypt. But it's Greek in origin. So it was found in Egypt, but it was crafted in Greece. It's only really about, it looks huge. It's about 9 centimeters tall. And it was for love. It was meant to torture a girl named Aias. it was the daughter of Origin until she loved the person who hired to have the doll made. Where she couldn't eat, she couldn't drink, she couldn't eat any other men, she couldn't sleep until she fell in love with him. You knew the person who did this had money because it was put in this pot with what's called a cursing tablet, which is usually done in lead. And you would hire someone, usually someone who did magic, to craft these lead cursing tablets for you. And so it was all placed in here. So there's actually 13 pins in her in various places. Sometimes it's a good number, but maybe that's just that he just had 13 thoughts, couldn't think of any more. This is called the Lion Man. So it's about 41,000 years old. It's the oldest humanoid figure, not completely human, because it does have a lion head, found in a cave in Germany. And it's made of mammoth ivory, woolly mammoth. This one you'll recognize, because it's actually in the witch's lair. Well, the second one. The first one is called Venus Hohlfels, which is also about 41,000 years old. It's the first one known to be totally of a human. Also done from mammoth ivory by early European Cro-Magnons. And here we actually see the one you'll recognize is the Venus of Willendorf. While they look similar, she's only 25,000 years old. Only. And was found in Austria. She was made with limestone and colored with red ochre powder. But both of these are meant to be, you would think, to be sexual or fertility. Not only because they both have breasts, but they also have very specific engraved, they have belly buttons, and this one has a vulva. So they think these are more fertility dolls. Now that's 41,000 years. We're gonna skip way into the 19th century with paper dolls. But paper dolls have existed since the invention of paper. In the 1700s, the French, they were all the rage in the royal courts. They were called partons, which were jointed paper dolls that were used like puppets for play. So the arms were actually, I don't know if you've ever made those before with the little pins, and then their arms and legs will move. So with paper dolls, paper dolls, you can do so many things. A little paper doll. So you can write your petition on it. You can put petitions in someone's head, thoughts you want to put in their head. And then the good thing about paper is this. When you want someone to really feel the burn, and the good thing about this is whatever you've written on there or you've directed at someone, you can then take the ashes and use it on candles. You can put it inside a doll that you've sewn. You can do all sorts of things with the ashes. Just save little pinches of it. So that's a good use of paper dolls. China dolls. These are like first European, about 1750. And they didn't become popular until the 1840s. These are all a lot of people say it freaks them out. I've always found them to be pretty, but some people would actually, because they had China heads, China arms, sometimes China feet, but the body is all cloth. So you could actually take one of these if a little girl had it, because most of the time these wouldn't be for cursing, but maybe someone would cut the body open and put in things that were for like protection or healing. Many of you may recognize this one. Witches of Eastwick,
Oh, yes.
where they had actually taken, if you remember the scene, they go into the bathroom and get his hair out of the hairbrush. They get, from a cigar, they get, I think, some of the ashes or something. And then they burn something else and put it into the doll, all things that represented him. If anyone remembers the scene, they were throwing it back and forth to each other, and he was flying around all over the place. So, when we go back to the history of the dolls, Egypt, they were used in religious and magical rituals. They were sometimes placed in tombs as servants for the people in the afterlife. And a lot of times these dolls had spells inscribed on them to ensure the servants would do their job and wait on the people in the afterlife. So they were actually, what would be the word? Yes, it's like a servitude sort of spell or something. Now, in Greece and Rome, which we saw by the one picture, they were closer to Barbies, but also closer to what voodoo dolls we would think of, because Hollywood has screwed up the word voodoo doll. You know, voodoo dolls have nothing to do with voodoo, nothing to do with Haiti, which I'll get to. It's just something that Hollywood made up. The closest thing to a voodoo doll would be, I'm going to skip a little bit and go to Europe, which is the poppet. That's the closest thing to a voodoo doll. Blame the British for that. It's meant to represent a specific person and can be used for any type of magic. Usually it didn't have a specific target. It could be love or money or protection or control. In Africa, dolls were meant to be used to communicate with spirits and ancestors. They were often used in fertility rituals to ask the gods for a pregnancy. Native Americans, the Hopi crafted kachina dolls, which were used in spiritual ceremonies and were usually meant to be used as something to teach their children about their culture and their spiritual beliefs. In Japan, they were specifically used to ward off evil spirits. And when you were done with the doll, you would actually throw it away, and it was meant to bring you good luck. And in Haiti, which we normally think, oh, voodoo dolls, no, they didn't use them for that. They were used in religious practices to connect with the Loa, to honor or seek the guidance of their gods. So, no bad stuff. So, terminology. Voodoo dolls and poppets, we talked about what those were. So, what is an effigy? People, this word, it's like, what does an effigy mean? It just simply means something that was crafted to represent the body of a person, most of the time in the form of a statue. Spirit dolls, which is what I actually make. What is a spirit doll? So they're handcrafted and meant to harness a specific spiritual energy. So they're used in rituals, but mainly in things like meditation, for focus, and as talismans. So you're actually supposed to ask the spirit realm to enter the doll with the intentions that you have for it. Whatever your hopes, your wishes, you're not asking as the spirit to enter the doll, but the spirit of your intention. Love or protection or whatever it is. You're asking that emotion or that action to enter the doll and assist you in whatever it is, or, hold you up. So that's what a spirit doll is. So how does doll magic work? Mainly it is good for the magical practitioner to have something really physical to focus on. It's not just a concept when you have a doll that you can hold and it actually looks like a person at the same time. So you're not having. Has anyone else experienced that when you do a spell or something? Like, I like candles because it's something I can hold, I can carve into, I can dress with herbs, I can dress with oils. It's very different than just saying an incantation because it's like you've added extra oomph and put out a couple of dollars to buy the supplies. So you made a little sacrifice there. So that's mainly what it is, to help with focus and intention is how it works, because it adds to whatever spell you're casting. For it to work on a specific person, you have to name it and baptize it. Some people don't like the word baptize. You can leave that out. You can do it in whatever your spiritual path is. But it's important to actually name it. If you're doing something like this figural candle, you can carve the name into it. You might carve their date of birth, their favorite color, their favorite food, whatever you can. Just sit there and carve it into it. Also, never reuse it all after you're done for like, oh, I'm done with this. He did what I said. Now I'm going to work on so-and-so. Don't use the same doll. And that's a no-no. You can also use personal concerns, which is hair, fingernails, bodily fluids of all types. Their photograph. Just like we burn the paper doll, you might burn a photograph of a person and use the ashes to put inside a doll to rub on a candle that is the body of a person, something that connects it to it. So I have many types here. There's all types of dolls. There's manufactured dolls. You can go and buy a Barbie. Pop her head off, fill it full of herbs, pop it back on. I know, we just all saw the Barbie movie last year, and that didn't sound very good, but or get Ken, he's just Ken. Yarn or fabric dolls. Fabric dolls can be, like I said, can be stuffed with materials. Yarn dolls are the ones I have up front. I didn't bring one up here. Mainly, they're done by I wind it over a piece of cardboard, tie it while it's still in there, cut it, and then drape it over and make a head, and then tie it off that way because it makes the little bulbous head, and then tie it off to separate it and then make limbs. These are easy to anoint with oil. They're very flimsy, and they're very good for sex magic, because the point of these dolls, you can make them tiny. The ones I have are this big. Is you're supposed to wear them in your underwear when you sleep. When you put the target on this specific person you're wanting to come to you or be attracted to you, is to wear it against your genitals while you're sleeping for 3 days in a row. And then after that, you'll tuck the doll somewhere or put it up on an altar or something. But you're actually putting pheromones on the doll, which is your own personal concerns. I didn't bring one up here. We have, for the sake of internet search purposes, we call them member candles, which is a male member. We have a phallic symbol, and we have vulva candles, which would be like a body part, a doll part. So those could be used in similar type of magic. We talked about paper dolls. Also, paper dolls are easy to conceal. You could write a petition on that and just completely fold it up and carry it with you, or put it in your wallet. Clay or dirt dolls. The heads of all of mine are made with clay. So it would be sort of a mixture between a clay and a fabric doll. Roy got me a bunch of antique dolls for Christmas. This is a voodoo doll from New Orleans. I actually, before I started constructing these, I bought another one and took it apart. And what I found was interesting is inside the head, which is wrapped in fabric and then sealed over to make it hard, inside was actually mud. It was just mud that was created to make this form. So that's definitely a clay dirt doll. We talked about wax effigies and figural candles, they come in all different sizes. We have the ones that are two levers facing each other. People ask what's the difference because some are facing apart, some are facing each other. If they're facing each other, they're for love. If they're apart, it's to break the people up. And then we have skull candles. To me, it's still a doll, sort of. The head of a doll. You could put a little body on it if you wanted to. But how to use a skull, and I'm going to use a special pin some friends gave me for my birthday. It's important to know how to use by going and finding a chart of the brain. So, the frontal lobe is for reasoning. It's where you find reasoning, morality, the personality, and it regulates emotions. So it's like, I want this person to like really, have all this, I want them to be aching for me. It's not meant for harm. You're putting a thought into. Most people think pins are only for harm. This is meant to signify a thought. If we have the temporal lobe, which is sort of in the center, it's about understanding and memory and learning and speech. So maybe you have a child that has a learning disability and you want to help them. You would get into the temporal lobe right in there. It could also be for you too. Maybe you're going to call it night courses. You're trying to learn something. You're trying to memorize things. And then the parietal lobe, which is here at the back. And here, this is about comprehension, reading skills, and also the sensations that you have. Now, what sensations mean? Maybe you're wanting this person to, number one, we're going to go to the front, really be thinking about you, really want you. You also want you to have fabulous sex that they remember. So we go into that part. So it's actually knowing how the brain works to know where to put the pins or the nails or whatever you're going to put in there. Or maybe you don't want to do this. Maybe you're like, this feels a little invasive. Inscribe what you're wanting in those parts. Sort of a doll. Works like a doll. If it works, who cares? Another one is cookie and dough dolls. The good thing is, think of gingerbread men. There's all sorts of stuff you can do with gingerbread men, and some of it's not very nice. The thing is, if you have an enemy, you can take a gingerbread man, chew it up, and spit it out. Another one is to crumble it with your hands into the toilet and flush them. I've seen spells where like they only want you to crumble it in there after you've used the toilet and mix it in with all the, so they have a nice shitty experience. So there's tons of stuff you can do with that. Also, maybe you want to feed it to someone who you want to win them over. So it's just like I always tell people like you're having a problem with people at work. You bake cookies and take it in, but bless the sugar. So people will find you sweeter. People who don't bake, go get sugar cookies. They already have sugar on it. Bless the sugar and then sprinkle it on the cookies. Most of it will fall off, but your intention fell onto it. Okay, so any questions so far? Yes.
So for the skull one, do we need to put like a petition paper when we put the pin in, or do we just?
A lot of way people do skulls is they call loading a skull, which we dig out the bottom completely, about that deep. As much you don't want to get to the point where you don't want to go out so far that you mess with the foundation. You'll mess with the wick a little bit when you get in there. You dig it out, pack it with your petition, any herbs or other ingredients that are related to your spell, and then stuff as much wax as you can back into it. hit it with a torch or something, or another candle, and then seal it and get it back in place. If you're just doing a petition, you can put it underneath it. Maybe get a chime candle and drip it so it becomes a part of the bottom.
There you go.
If you're not wanting to dig it out, but that would be called loading a candle. So most skull candles are loaded. If you're going to make your own dolls, what to stuff them with? I mean, there's commercial stuffing you can buy, but that would also put other herbs in there and things. If anyone has it, a target's clothing. Pieces of their clothing put into the doll, or if you sew, make the doll out of the target's clothing. Preferably their underwear, depending on what kind of work you're doing. Some people make dolls out of underwear, and preferably that it has not been laundered. Or someone left a shirt behind. You may turn it into a doll or something. But also, preferably, it still has their skin follicles on it, or their sweat. I know. It depends on the condition. Cut out parts of the underwear. Use the best part. So how do we care for a doll? Most of them we're talking about for healing purposes. What would you do? You would actually make a little bed for it. So let's say you're doing it to heal someone. I mean, you actually take the doll and you tuck it into bed at night. You may nurse it or sing to it. Caress it, trying to calm it down like you would a child that's sick or something. You may put medicine beside it. You may put medicinal herbs in it or beside it, or make a bed of them to put it in and then tuck it in. Let's say we're not nursing someone. You have to do this when no one else is in the house. They'll think you're crazy. But if there is someone who just won't leave you alone, just shake the hell out of the doll, yell into it, scream at it, berate it, call it a little bitch, whatever you want to say to this person. And not my doll, but like you are not going to speak to me in that way anymore. Tomorrow when you try to do it, you will think twice. You will stop and count to poor little thing.
Your foot is going to burn like nothing else.
You could, even with it depends on how much you want to sacrifice. You could burn up one of these. I don't have one here. We have in there beeswax poppets that we make.
Really?
They're Marita, will you hand me one? You know where they are. Those people have told us they like to use as incremental pain.
Nagging.
It's just a little bit, drips away at a time. We have them both in male and female. Here's the male. With its member. We did have these with their arms spread and their legs spread, and in shipping they would always break, so I had to mold and sculpt the doll again, so they were like this, so they wouldn't break in shipment. But yeah, some people just sit there and take a lighter on it. But a little bit of pain today. We're gonna drip this. We're gonna drip this away until you stop cheating on me or whatever. Or they'll take it and take it to the floor. Yeah, break his head off, or they'll break the legs off, or just a little bit a day. They'll whittle a little bit off with their thoughts. These are customers who order this that tell us this stuff, what they've done with it. I think they've told you what they've done with it before. Someone had great joy melting a little bit every day. So if you were doing a spell on it, you can do it with the candle or just a doll, is surround it in a circle of rose petals. And then, actually, let's not do it with this. Let's do it with a regular doll. Surround it, because would be a full spell. Surround the doll in rose petals, and then write um, at north, south, east, and west, light 4 pink candles to actually imbue the doll with the love you have for this person that you're trying to bring to you. If it were for money, now when we did the, does anyone know Tish Owens? So she used to do something called Spirit Fest. And the year it was held down here at Donaldson Senior Center, someone had traveled and had made these money dolls. And I bought one from her. And something that, I can feel it. There's a little petition in there. But you may dab these with like cinnamon or money drawing oil. If you actually wanted to open one or make one, you might fill it with fenugreek seeds. You could put coins inside, alfalfa, finger grass. All of these are money drawing. And you notice, because it's for money, it's created with green fabric. So color choices in creating dolls, or putting ribbons on them. If you already got it and you don't like the color, you can also paint them with fabric paint. But a money doll, one thing you might do is set it on a bank statement that you have that you've altered. Add zeros to it. Move the decimal point. Add some zeros. And then light green candles around it that are preferably anointed with money drawing oil, or money stay with me, or steady work, or something like that. Protection. You would stuff it with sage and frankincense tears. Anoint it with protection oil. And then leave it near the entrance to your home. Maybe on a end table by the door, or hang it by the door. We covered on how to heal one, where you would nurse it like a nurse. Also, if you're nursing a doll, you may, just like you would put it to bed at night, move it into the sun in the daytime. Let the doll have some vitamin D. So we're going to move your bed to the sun in the daytime. Spiritual cleansing. People ask how to cleanse someone who's been cursed when they're at a distance. And of course, you can use holy water. You can use Florida water. But when I do cleansing rituals for people, I will take usually a white male figural candle or female figural candle, whatever, and surround it with white candles. And of course, I'll carve in their name, their birthday, whatever information they give me. Before I completely surround it, I will anoint it with the Florida water or the holy water. Sometimes I will take our 13 herb bath, which is for uncrossing, and put it in a small bowl, but only with just a little bit of water, because you don't want the candle to float. And then you get your hands in it and you cleanse whatever if they're crossed, if they're sick, or whatever, you cleanse it off of them. Then finish your white circle, light this candle, light those candles, and this is preferably the white ones are done in protection oil. So you've cleansed a curse off of them, and then surrounded them with the protection so it can't get back in. You can do this with someone sick too, or cursed, to cleanse it off of them. You can also use hyssop, or our 13 herb bath. So we finally come to the last part, which is, I'm done with this. I'm tired of working with this person. I've done all I want to do. I just don't want to do this anymore. Do you just throw the doll away? No. Because you're actually throwing that person away. You're throwing that person in a dumpster. They're still attached to the doll. You have to unbaptize it. Or it's called decommissioning or nullifying a doll. Okay. Where you're actually going through the same process in reverse that you named it, and saying, you are no longer Joe or whatever. You are just a doll. You are no longer this person. I take away whatever connected you to it. And if there are things inside that connect you to it, you rip into the doll and get those things out. You can tear it apart, and some people do this part anyway. They'll unname it because they don't want to rip the person open. Maybe they do. But if you don't want to cause harm, first unname it. Unstitch it. Some people just use something just to unstitch it all the way. Some will burn it, and you take the remains to a crossroads. And when people go to a crossroads, the best thing to do is you're not supposed to look back. So let's say here's your house. I always tell people this. Here's your house. You're coming up on this crossroads. I'm like, how will I get back home? Because I'm not supposed to. Yeah. Well, yeah, you could back in, or just go all the way up, then turn around and do it on that side, and then go home. Because you're not supposed to look back. So yeah, take it to a crossroads, and you can also throw it in running water. It will be carried away like down a river, or bury it like you're giving it a funeral. You're actually just going to bury it so it'll decompose. Thank you for doing the work you've done for me. This is done now. We're done. Thank you. And actually, we're done. Thank you. That's what I have.
I saw the puppet doll right behind you at your feet.
Which one? Oh, yes, there's Poppet Magic. Also, I created a little something for all of you if you want one. These are, if you want to do little bits of magic, if you want to come and get one, these are a little worry doll, the little baby you put in a king cake, and a sticker of a Russian nesting doll. So, so these are right here if you want to get one.